Welcome everyone who's watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, you can still tap for hearts by just tapping on your screen. My name is Lindsay Grammont, the Homemade Mommy, and I blog at homemademommy.net. I scope about all things inspiring, oily, DIY, homemade, real food, and pretty much anything related to all of those topics. Welcome, welcome everyone. Hey guys, what's up? Let me know where you guys are watching from. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Again, I am Lindsay Grammont, the Homemade Mommy, and I'm also the founder of the Oily Angels. I'm Crown Diamond with Young Living, and again, I scope about real food recipes, DIY, health, nutrition, essential oils, natural remedies, learning to be your own health advocate, and also growing personally to become a leader. What's up, guys? Thank you. Thank you. We've had a nice weekend. Yesterday was a good rest day for me. I didn't do any technology yesterday. I did a lot of reading. So now I'm ready and inspired to share some things with you. So the title of my scope was 9 ways that leading or teaching and grooming your kids to be successful and to be leaders themselves will help you grow into a leader yourself, and that you were born to be this kind of leader. So you guys curious about learning about those 9 things? We've only got about 44 folks in here. Maybe you guys are all at church. I don't know. But if you guys could share this scope with your followers, you can also share on Facebook by swiping from left to right or from bottom to top if you're on an Android. And you can share this. Thank you so much. If you are sharing, I can see that. Thank you. Thank you guys for inviting your followers. Thanks, Crystal. What's up? What's up? All right, guys, thank you. We will get started in just a minute here. I want to get it up to 100, and then I'll feel good about going for it. Thank you for inviting followers. So again, share where you're watching from, and please type your name after where you said you were watching from so that I can welcome you. I haven't done a real interactive Periscope in a while, and I miss you guys. Gwendolyn Claire, thank you for inviting followers. Heather from Indiana, Rosie from Alabama, Elaine from New Hampshire, Kim from Iowa. If you're new to my scopes, please type in the word stress away, and then I'll know if you're new and I can welcome you, and you can follow me by swiping from left to right again or from top to bottom and clicking on the plus sign. Stress away. Hi, Tina. Type in your name after the word stress away so I can welcome you. Hey guys, what's up? Okay, so I am reading a book right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Again, I'm Lindsay Grammont, Homemade Mommy. And you can subscribe to my blog newsletter by texting the word HM News to the number 33444, and you will get a lot of great recipes and things like that. Hey guys, okay, so many new people today. Thanks so much. I think that was from Crystal. So thank you so much, Crystal, for sharing. And thank you for all the hearts, everyone, and for taking the time today to listen to this. So I'm reading an awesome new book. Have any of you guys ever heard of this book? Probably not, because many of you guys are, I'm assuming, oh, can I repeat? Maybe someone can type it in. If you're talking about to repeat my newsletter. So you can subscribe to my newsletter by texting the word HM News to the number 33444. Okay, so I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Blessing of a Skinned Knee by Wendy Mogul. And it's a book that I've had for many years, and I know that I've read the whole thing once before, but I think I read it when my daughter was just a baby, and she's now almost 7. And oh, you love that book? Okay, who has heard of this book? Type it in. I'm so excited that I have one person in here who knows about this book. So you read it many years ago. Okay, so I needed to reread this. I was called to reread this recently, and I've started, and I'm not very far in, and I'm just like bursting at the seams with things to tell you guys. So this is a book that is based on the Old Testament and the Torah, Jewish teachings. Okay, guys, so I'm Jewish, And so that might be why some of you guys haven't heard of this book, but everything that it talks about in terms of parental, qualities and what we need to be doing as parents is based on the Old Testament texts, okay? So going from that perspective, the woman who wrote this is a PhD. She was a therapist, and she really was struggling with her practice. This is from Many, awesome, M-O-T in the house. She spent many years, this book was written many years ago. I'm just going to look and see. 2001. So about 14 years ago, this book was written. And she was in practice as a psychologist and was struggling with so many parents coming in with troubled teenagers or children and kind of being disappointed when they didn't get a diagnosis of ADD or obsessive compulsive disorder or something like that. They knew something was wrong in their family, and they couldn't, they didn't want to hear that there wasn't something wrong that they could address with drugs or something like that. And, that really started to upset her. And so she started to dig into her Jewish teachings and wrote this, went down this path, studying the Torah, studying, for those of you who don't know, that's the Old Testament from a Jewish standpoint, and really wanted to understand what was driving these families and why there was so much pain in the world with families and why we couldn't have peace in our homes and why we had children who were just so distressed. But really not much wrong with them, just distressed. So that's why she actually left her psychology practice and started doing parenting classes, and it's just an amazing book. So, all of us know that, the fifth commandment is to honor thy father and mother. So how does this apply to all of our lives? If you have children, then this obviously applies to your parenting your children. But I wanted to draw a parallel between how grooming our children for success is also how we can groom leaders in our businesses and how we can become very strong leaders. So, yay. So I want to read to you something that is probably going to floor many of you, but if you can understand and make this mind shift, then it will change everything for you. So I've been hearing a lot lately that I need to focus on the little things, and frankly, I was thrown into focusing on the little things when my husband busted his Achilles tendon and he's been laid up, and I've had to do a lot more of the little things around the house, cleaning, even to the point where I've been needing a lot of help from my daughter in the mornings because I've had to be the only one to get her up and out the door. And it's just required a lot of thinking on my part and a lot of reflection on how our house is run and how much I've neglected certain things. So do any of you guys, and I'm going to make this a little bit interactive so that I know if you guys are doing something else right now, you're not paying entirely 100% attention to me. So yes, you're a single mom. You get it, right? You've got to really think, what am I doing wrong as a parent if my children are not listening to me? How many of you guys feel like your children don't listen to you, or that they argue with you when you ask them to do something, or that you're kind of cajoling them to try and get them to do something to help you? That you can tell them until you're blue in the face that they need to be gracious and be grateful for you as a mother, but they still aren't doing what they need to do. How many of you guys? So if that's you, raise of hands, everyone type in, hand raised, whatever you want to say. But this is key. And this is going to, this past week, implementing a lot of these things, oh my gosh, if you think that you are tired and exhausted at the end of the day because of X, Y, and Z, I can tell you right now, probably 90% of it is trying to get your kids to do what you want them to do. So if you can't motivate your kids, how are you going to motivate anybody else? Okay, so if you can't motivate your kids, then it's exhausting, right? It's so draining when you find, why can't they just do what I want them to do? Why can't they be a good person? It makes me sad that they aren't doing what they need to do. Why can't I get through to them? Why? Okay, so here's why, okay? The practice of raising children So the purpose of having children, according to the teachings of the Torah or Old Testament, for all of my Christian friends out there, is not to create opportunities for our glory or for theirs. I'm going to say that again. The purpose of having children, according to the teachings of the Torah, is not to create opportunities for our glory or for theirs. The purpose of having children and raising them to be self-reliant, compassionate, ethical adults is to ensure that there will be people here to honor God after we are gone. Let's say that again. The purpose of having children and raising them to be self-reliant, compassionate, ethical adults is to ensure that there will be people here to honor God after we are gone. So, the rules regarding child rearing are not primarily about making children feel good, but about making children into good people. Let's say that again. So the rules regarding child rearing are not primarily about making children feel good, but about making children into good people, right? Huge. So if you can just get this mind shift, then it's going to change everything for you. So the writings of learned Jewish thinkers over the centuries provide invaluable wisdom to help us with this. And that's what this book is about, obviously quoting a lot from the Old Testament. Okay, guys? So the good old book is where everything comes from, right? So I've tried to distill this wisdom in here, but there's 9 things that we need to teach our kids. And if we can teach them these things and we can learn to be really good at commanding these things, then we are going to be able to motivate anybody, guys. Okay? So, yes, you were? Okay, so the first thing, guys, is that you have to accept that your children or anyone that you come across in life, your husband, your potential leaders in your business, anyone, accept that your children are both unique and ordinary. Okay, guys? We are all different. We all have a light within us, but we can't be expected to excel at everything. So we are inherently ordinary, all of us. You could say, no, we're all extraordinary and we should be building our kids up and making them feel extraordinary. But that's a lot of pressure, guys. It's a lot of pressure. Okay, so if you just accept that your children are unique and ordinary, then they're not going to feel that pressure and they're going to rise above. Okay, I know that seems hard to understand for some of you, but in Judaism, this is very important, that we are awed by things that are extraordinary, but it's very specific things. And our kids don't need to be told all the time that they're extraordinary and complimented all the time, because then they will think that that's how life is. And we all know that that's not how life is, right? We have to work for being extraordinary. We need to earn that. And everybody has a different, unique light in them that is going to make them extraordinary in a certain area, but not in all areas. Okay? So the second thing is to teach our children to honor their parents and to respect others, family, friends, and community. Yes, exactly. Raise them so that they won't be let down by real life on the first point. On the second point, teach them to honor us. Okay, so what does that mean? What does respect really mean? All of you guys out there watching and people who are watching the replay, I want you to really hear this. If your kid, I'm going to just give you some examples here. Let's find some answers to some questions here so that you guys can really get this. Let me see if I can find the questions. Okay. Do you allow your kids to interrupt you unnecessarily when you are on the phone or in a conversation with another adult? Raise of hands. Do your kids interrupt? I saw this happen on Friday. There were some kids interrupting a man who was telling a bunch of children from my daughter's school a story, and he reprimanded them. So do you allow your kids to interrupt? For sure, right? Your kids do interrupt, or you're hearing me. So they do it whether or not I allow it. Hand raised. Okay. Do you have a designated place at your dinner table? Do your kids ever sit in your place? Do they consistently contradict your words in the name of lobbying for their own point of view? Do they talk back to you in public? And talking back can even be when you ask them to do something and they say, I know. How many of your kids say, I know, or, that kind of thing? That's talking back. So, or whatever, even if it's those small words, and whenever you feel that twinge, like they're not respecting me, they're not respecting you. Okay, do you give your children enough opportunities to help you out, to demonstrate thoughtfulness, to take care of you? Do you guys do that? You know, if you are at home and you're doing and doing and doing, and you're doing everything for your whole family, and your kids are not helping you, and they're just over there, maybe you get your kid, it's easier for you to say, why don't you go color while I clean the dishes? How many of us do that? It just is easier than trying to ask them to come and do the dishes, right? So how many times do we give them opportunities to do that? Do your children ask if you want a glass of water, a banana, or a bowl of ice cream when they're getting it for themselves? Have your kids ever done that? Asked you when they're getting us a piece of fruit, would you like something, Mommy? I'm in the kitchen. Would you like something? Do they respect your privacy? How many of you guys have your kids knock on your bedroom door and ask if they can come in before they come in? How many of you guys in the middle of the night have a child that will knock on your door and ask if they're allowed to come in? Just wondering. Yes, you do? Okay, good for you. So do they enter your room or take things without asking? That's a good question. So do your older children take the remote from you, tie up the phone line, forget to give you messages that they have taken? Do your kids talk too loudly in their home or in public? So these are all things that kind of erode at commanding respect. And if you can't get your child to respect you, then they're not following the fifth commandment of honoring their mother and father. So you need to look into that. All right, the third teaching, so that was the second one. We're doing 9 here. The third one is to teach them to be resilient, self-reliant, and courageous. Okay. How do I fix it? Let me go through the 9 and then maybe we'll do another scope about that too, okay? But yeah, all those questions, are you guys all feeling like, whoa, I've got some unruly children on my hands, right? I mean, we want them to feel like they are expressing themselves, but at the expense of disrespecting us, right? So, respect is not earned in the case of the Lord, okay? So if I'm just going to say, let's see here. Let me find my point about that so that I can address that person saying that. Okay. Let me see if I can find that point, because I really do want to address this, because respect is not earned when we're talking about the 10 Commandments. Okay. Where is it? Of course, I'm not going to be able to find it right now. The word of Torah. Well, guys, let's see here. I'm going to have to maybe save that for another scope, because I wanted to find you the text, but now I can't find it. I know it's in here. So there are, well, I'm going to have to do it on a different one. Here we go. Okay. I found it. Okay, so let's address that now, since you guys are enjoying this. Okay. Love ourselves. Passages in the Torah requiring us to, let's see, here we go. Okay, the Torah teaches us that there are 3 partners in the creation of a person, God, the Father, and the Mother. When a person honors the parents, God says, I consider it as though I lived with them and they honored me. On this earthly plane, parents are the holy stand-ins. By revering them, children have an opportunity to show their reverence for God. Honoring parents at home also helps children make the leap from family to community. It is a way to grow into a civilized society. The other point about that, let's see here. Well, that's all I've got right now on that point. I'm going to have to come back and do another scope on that. Now I lost my page. Okay, so the third point is to teach them to be self-reliant and resilient and courageous. So for all of you out there who are concerned about your own business and it's because of fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not doing it right, whatever it is, fear of, comparing with other people. If we don't teach our kids to be resilient, self-reliant, and courageous, then they're going to turn out like us and have all of our excuses, right? And we want our kids to know that failure is a part of life and that that's how we learn. And so you're teaching them to be teachable and to learn and grow, whereas a lot of us really don't have that skill. So we don't want to instill what we have wrong with us onto our kids. We want to teach them to be reliant, self-reliant, resilient. If something bad happens, they need to be able to bounce back. They've got to be able to bounce back. And they've got to be courageous. They need to have no fear in going into their life. Otherwise, they're going to always be fearful like we are. The fourth thing is to teach them to be grateful for their blessings. That's something that I think comes easier to a lot of us. We can teach our kids to be grateful, but it's much harder to command respect, right? So that's probably an easier one. Teach them the value of work. So I call this focusing on the little things. So at home, if we can't empty the dishwasher, then how are we going to be promoted to bigger and better things? So with my daughter now, I've been telling her we've got to focus on all these little things. These little things are holy and sacred, and we need to see our home as our little temple here. And all of these little things are going to help us to be promoted to much, much more. But if we can't be trusted with the little things, then how can we be promoted to more? So the value of work is that we are always working. Mommy's always working to help run this household, and you need to be a part of that. So we have to take care of what's right in front of us, or there's really no reason for us to be able to do any more. So that's been really helpful for us in the past few weeks, is that she's been helping with a lot of things now, because that's the little things are very important. And she's starting to see that if we can't get these little things done, then we're never going to be able to get anything more done. I mean, why should she be able to go to soccer practice if she is, like sitting there like on her throne, like, you just empty the dishwasher and I'll just watch you, or you make my breakfast, or you clean up my dishes. I mean, that's not engendering respect at all, and it's not valuing work, and it's not valuing the little things. So teach them to make their table an altar. So some of you guys watching are not Jewish, but we have a temple that, the destruction, there were 2 temples in Israel, and since the destruction of the second temple, we are what's considered to be a diaspora. We are scattered. Jews are scattered everywhere. We do not have our temple. So now in the diaspora, the teachings are that our home is our most holy place. Our home is our most holy place. Do you guys feel like your home is a holy place right now? Or, do you behave differently when you take your children to church or to shul on Saturday or church on Sunday than you do at home? So this is saying that you need to teach them to make your home and your table an altar, that is really important. So if they are shunning your food or being picky about the food that you are serving them, then they are not sanctifying the food in your home. They're not respecting you, and they are not they're not really helping you at all. They're not being grateful. They're not celebrating the food and blessings that we have. They're not making the experience at home holy. So you need to think about that when you make something separate for your kids anyway. So I've always very much focused on this with our daughter. If she doesn't like what I serve, that's one thing, but you can't ever be rude to mommy about what I have made, or you're going to get sent to your room, because that's not respectful at all, right? And it's not seeing that we are very blessed in America to have this wonderful bounty of food and to eat, pasta all the time, and bread is not enjoying life or learning about how to eat or the blessings of nourishment, and that's no way to live. And to be bribing children with dessert after they've only eaten pasta is not really sanctifying the food and respecting your parents. So respect isn't built in a day. That is very true, Crystal. All right. The seventh is to teach them to accept rules and to exercise self-control. Yes, yes, Oily Organic Mama Sherry. It's very true. They are not learning to respect their body if they are not getting nourishment and not learning from you how to be a good eater and how to nourish their body. So if it's easier for you to give your child yogurt for dinner every night, you need to really think about that, because you're not teaching them to learn how to nourish and love their body. And that is a huge, huge opportunity missed to really groom your children for success later. Okay, so sorry, I'm going to repeat the seventh thing again. Teach them to accept rules and to exercise self-control. To accept rules and to exercise self-control. So you can actually use the word self-control. So if you've ever seen a child out and about, we saw one at the farmer's market last weekend that was literally screaming at her mother for a popsicle, screaming her head off for a popsicle. And it was raining, and my husband had a cast on and it was going to get wet, and we had to huddle under one of the booths to keep from his cast getting wet. And I had to run through the rain with my daughter, absolute drenching, bucket pouring rain, to get the car so that I could get him in the car to get his cast so it wouldn't be wet and he wouldn't end up with swamp foot or whatever they call it. So we're focused on that, and there is a child screaming bloody murder because she did not get a popsicle. And I wanted to say to that child, self-control. That is what self-control is all about. You cannot let your child do that. That is not exercising self-control and not teaching them to exercise self-control. And this was an older child, older than my daughter. Accept rules. They need to know that there are rules in the house. There are rules. They need to knock on the door, that your space is a private space, and they need to knock on your door. They need to not eat ice cream for every meal. They need to, whatever it is, right? They need to learn to accept rules. What would I do in that situation? I would say self-control. That's what I say to my daughter when she's, tired and kind of clumsy and moving all over the place and bumping into things. I say self-control, and it helps her to realize I'm a little bit out of it and I need to sit down and calm down. Okay, so I think we're on number 8 here. Yes, 8. Teach them the preciousness of the present moment. Living in the present is the only place we can live. We can't live in the past. We can't live in the future. We can only live in the here and now. So if we are constantly talking about past failures of our children or past failures of ourselves, or remember when you did that and you got in big trouble, that is going to hurt them in the future, because they're not living in the present moment. Mindfulness, exactly. And if they're constantly thinking about the future, and we're dreaming of this, mommy's going to work really hard right now. We're going to work so hard, and everyone's going to support mommy working really hard right now, because in the future we will all get to spend some time together. I've made that mistake. That's not a good place to be. We need to live in the present, and we need to be more focused. So I think of this as applying to our day-to-day life with our kids, is being focused. So we can't be in 100 places at once. And we can definitely dedicate an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon to really focus on our children or our husband or something other than our phones or our business. We can. We actually can. We just have to make the choice to. So living in the present moment, you are going to show them by your actions how to live in the present moment. And you are going to show anyone you encounter by your actions how you live in the present moment. So it can't be that I'm going to work real hard right now and, to hell with everything else right now because I'm working hard. And it's always for someday in the future. I'm dreaming about this, and when that happens, then I will do. No. We need to live for today. If you aren't living right now exactly as how you want your life to be, then you need to go and get the training and the skills to figure out how to make it different. Teach them, the 9th one is to teach them about God. And I know that all of you listening would very much agree with this. But if we don't teach them about God, then they're not going to understand that these rules don't come from you, that they don't belong to you, that they are only here with you as their parents because they are on loan from God. God gave us this beautiful child to raise and to teach. Remember what we said at the beginning of the scope was to teach them to be here to honor God after we are gone. That is the primary purpose of raising children. It's not to have them feel good every day about themselves, but to make them into good people. And that means there's hard work there to teach them how to be respectful, to teach them how to be a good person. I mean, all of you guys know what it takes to be a good person, but for some reason we let these children run around our homes and terrorize our homes and our home experience to the point where they're not being a good person. And no one wants to work with somebody like that. And as they get older, they're going to learn that the hard way through where they are working or what they are doing with their lives. They're going to learn that the hard way because they're going to be not really glad to do anything. So how do we fix that? Yes, 9 is key for 1 through 8. So how do we fix these things? I'm going to probably have to go into another scope for more detail around this, but we've been doing kind of, I would say, 4 different things that are really helping with this. So 4 things. The first is to, when your child talks back to you or says, I know, when you ask them to do something, you have them say, or you say to them, can we try that again? And if they say, okay, then you say, can we try that again with joy? And have them and talk to them about how they can choose joy in their life, because you can either choose joy or you can choose death. And at your mouth is that your tongue is always breathing life or death into any situation. And so if they are not talking to you with life and with joy, then that's not a good place to be, and that's not honoring you. And so you can say to them, sorry, mom, tell me, sorry, mommy, for not honoring you. And sorry, I'm asked forgiveness from God for dishonoring God, right? And then say, I'm really here to teach you to be successful. I am here. My whole purpose in life is to teach you how to be a good person and how to be successful. And that is coming from God. So you can have them say that. And then if you really want to take it a step further, anytime you ask them to do something, and anyone in the house should say this, is that they should say, I would be glad to. If you say, can you come over here and help me empty the dishwasher? I would be glad to. Imagine the difference if your kids said, I would be glad to, whenever you ask them to do something. It's a huge difference, because this week we've done it. And I can tell you right now that a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders, and in the not feeling stressed about getting my daughter to do anything because of this. So it's huge. Huge, guys. I can't even express to you how different it is when your kids say, I would be glad to help you. Can you guys imagine? I would be glad to. So that's been huge, huge, huge. So, yeah. It's just so simple, right? I mean, you can't say that. I mean, I guess a teenager could probably say that with some sarcasm in their voice. I'd be glad to. But it's kind of hard to say that. and really saying, I can't imagine anyone or any child that would be seeking forgiveness from you and from God for dishonoring you and God, that wouldn't take that to heart. And the way that I've achieved that with my daughter, and there are many strategies to doing this, and if you guys are, a lot of you guys who are watching who are Christian, Jenny Johnson has a set of audios and videos called Grooming the Next Generation for Success that has a lot of these strategies, and has, all based on your New Testament biblical teachings, and you would really enjoy that. You can listen to those as well, and she does a lot of that. So, and the other thing I would say, I said 4 things, so I gave you 3. The self-control one is a huge one. Can you be patient? Having them put your hand on your arm if they are wanting to tell you something instead of interrupting you. Knocking on the door and asking permission to come in. Again, having a place at the table for each person in the family and them not sitting in your place. If any of you have ever raised a dog, then you know that very similar types of things. You need to be, you're above your kids. It's God, your spouse, your kids, and then your work, right? So you are somehow above your kids. You are, and that's okay. You are not your kid's friend. You are above them, and that's okay. I think a lot of us just have some hard time with that. The other thing you can say is, because I am your mother. So if your kid's starting to argue with you, then you just have to cut that right off and say, because I said so, or because I am your mother. And there's really no need to explain it other than that. And there is some words about that in this book, which I could probably go into in another scope. So if you are curious, this book is The Blessing of a Skinned Knee by Wendy Mogul. And you can also check out Grooming the Next Generation of Success by Danny Johnson. So if you're teaching your kids these things, imagine the potential with motivating your leaders in your organization and really teaching them to be courageous, self-reliant, to respect you and your time. Guys, how many people do you have under you and members in Young Living that do not respect your time and the boundaries that you create, and that you aren't commanding that respect? We have to have self-respect, and we have to create boundaries, and we have to know what's important in our priorities, and you have to feel confident in that. So all of these teachings apply not just to your children, but are going to help you with everything in life, all of the things. It's going to help you grow into the leader that you were born to be. And if you don't have these skills with your kids, then you're not going to be able to have them in business. So the truth comes out. If you can't focus on what's put in front of you, then you are not going to be made ruler of much more. So if you have relationships with your kids that are strained, or with your spouse that are strained, you got to work on those before you can expect to have a giant, amazing network marketing business. Because why should you be able to become ruler of more if you can't be trusted with what's in front of you at home? So make your home a holy place. Go back to the teachings of the Lord to help raise your children, and you will have more time than you ever thought possible. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I know this was a long scope, but it's a lot to learn, and a lot that's been going on with me lately, and why I haven't been scoping as much, because I've just been wanting to read and digest and try things at home, and it's really going to help you guys a lot. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Love you all. Bye.